video is potentially not going to be the most interesting one I've ever made, but it is a very, very, very frigid weekend and I'm still recovering from COVID. I still have some shortness of breath and a lack of energy. And today's my first day back doing chores at the farm since I got COVID. You may be wondering, Kaitlyn, why are you wearing makeup in minus 20-degree weather? And to that I answer, because I went out for dinner with some friends last night for like a belated birthday dinner, and I slept in my makeup and I was too lazy to take it off, so I just put more on. So if I have eyeliner under my eyes, don't judge. So we have had a cold snap this week, and it's the first time this winter that we've had consistently cold weather between like colder than minus 15. And as a result, the video that was supposed to go out when this one is going to go out is going to kind of be me bringing Eve back into work and talking a little bit about winter plans for her. But because it's been so cold and I was sick with COVID, she has had a longer vacation than planned. She's had nearly a month off. I've ridden her a couple of times very lightly, and I think my coach's working student has ridden her once, maybe twice, very lightly, but she's not in full fitness. So I was racking my brains about what video I could make for this coming Tuesday. It's currently Saturday, January 20th. And I thought, in my now 25 years of being an equestrian, I have accumulated a lot of experience working with horses and dealing with horses in very cold temperatures. Our current cold snap is not as cold as it can get here. We tend to have 1 or 2 snaps in the winter where it's into the minus 30s and minus 40s, but this is the first time that the horses will have experienced these temperatures this year. I thought that it might be interesting to not really show chores, because I did that during Vlogmas, but just to, as I go about my day, give some little hints and tips and tricks that I have accumulated over the years about how to survive working with horses in such cold temperatures. So when I got here this morning, it was a base temperature of minus 20 with a wind chill. It's now warmed up a little bit. There's going to be a high of minus 10 today. So it's currently minus 13, which is still very cold, but not as cold as it was when I got here. Thankfully, there's not much wind, so it's not as cold feeling as it could be. It's not as miserable as it could be, but it's still very cold. So I basically want to run through some tips about how I stay warm and how I manage personally working with and taking care of horses in such cold temperatures. How I personally decide whether it's too cold to ride or to work them or not, and if I do ride, how my routine changes. So if this sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. Some time has passed. I've now turned the horses out. I'm like 90% done the stalls. I'm done the mucking. And I've fed 2 of the 6 paddocks, and I'm taking a break, which brings me to my first point. And this is something that I found applies throughout the winter, but also especially now as I'm recovering from COVID. One of the biggest side effects for me from COVID, or symptoms, was shortness of breath, and lack of energy, which is what I'm still struggling with, and I've heard you can struggle with for weeks. It gets better every day, but I'm still struggling with it. One of the biggest things that I can recommend and suggest throughout the winter, especially if you're working in really, really cold temperatures, is to listen to your body and take breaks. There's 4 stalls to do. 3 of them are minis. So I did those stalls. I would take a break after each stall. Then the one kind of big horse stall that I had to do, and it probably took me about 45 minutes to muck, mostly just because I'm trying to safeguard my energy. I was taking breaks when I felt I needed them, and making sure to stay hydrated. I tend to not be super thirsty in the winter, but it's super important to stay hydrated when it's cold. So I'll come in, take a sip or 2 from my big water bottle, and I find it really helps keep me going. Not to mention, as I'm recovering from COVID, it helps kind of with my throat, because if I do too much and then I get short on breath and my chest is dry, I'll start coughing. The horses need to be taken care of, so it's really important to make sure that you safeguard yourself so that you can provide that care for them. Next step has to do with clothes. So as you can see, I'm much more bundled than I normally am. And the biggest thing that I do in the winter is I dress in layers, because I can get very warm, and when I feel warm, I almost feel claustrophobic. So I like dressing in more but thinner layers rather than less but thick layers. So I've got a pair of fleece lined leggings and a pair of sweatpants with 3 layers of socks. Then I've got a base layer a 3/4 zip sweater. I've got a zip up sweater that has a high neck and this jacket. And then I've got a parka, which I don't think it's cold enough for me to need, but I have it in case I need it. And then in terms of other layers, I have this kind of snood cowl thing that I made for myself, which is great because it folds and I can bring it up to my eyes if I need to. I've got a headband. This is actually my Equestrian and it's fabulous. I've got a hat in case I need it. I've got mittens, and then I've got a pair of gloves. So when I'm doing things like water or anything that involves me needing the use of all of my fingers, I'll use my gloves, and I have them in my pocket. And then I also have my mittens, which I've been using more and more. Just having different layers for different things to help you stay warm and not get too cold. The boots that I'm wearing, admittedly, I don't have the best boots, but I'm actually just wearing my Dublin River boots, which I find have a nice thick sole. Leather for me does keep me quite warm, especially with the layers of socks that I have. And last but not least, in the colder weather, it might benefit you to switch up the order that you do things. So do the things that absolutely need to be done in the morning first. So for me today, that was turning the horses out, giving the one group that we hay by hand, giving them hay, making sure everybody had water. Our horses are used to being fed at different times of the day. They get 1 feed a day. So it's not gonna hurt them if I wait a couple of hours until it warms up a little bit to feed them and do stalls inside while I wait for the weather to warm up. So normally I would turn out, feed, and then do stalls and water. Luckily someone else is taking care of water today, which is great because I don't think I'd have the energy or the physical strength to do that. But today I did the necessities, which was turning out and haying and making sure everybody had water. And then I did stalls, which helped to keep me warm. And now I still have a little bit of stalls left to do, but it's warmed up a lot since, I mean, it's still freezing, but it's warmed up a lot since I got here. So it's a much more reasonable temperature to be outside having to separate the horses and do feeding. So sometimes there can be a benefit to switching things up a little bit. I think there's this big thing in the horse world about putting the horses first, which is true, but sometimes I think it's important to recognize that sometimes if you're not in a position, if you're exhausted, if you are sick, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to put the horse first because you're not going to be able to take care of them in the way that they need. So it's really important to practice self-care and to do things in a way that suits you in the winter when it's really cold. Oh, and last but not least is going back to the idea of taking breaks. If you can, get in and out of the cold. So I'm really lucky that the feed room has heat lamps. So it's not like I can, take all my layers off, but it's much warmer than outside. So I can come in, warm up a little bit, and then go back out into the cold, which I find really, really bad. Darling, do you want your feed? I know it's a little later than normal. You want your feed? How's that, my dear? Got some snow coming down. Yeah. So it is the next day. It is Sunday, and evidently I still haven't washed my makeup off, although this is different makeup. I honestly wasn't going to go to the barn today because I got some pretty crappy news this morning, just really sad news, and I just wasn't feeling like going out to the farm. But I think some pony time will make me feel better, even though it is freezing. So I thought that today was meant to be slightly warmer than yesterday, and it turns out that is wrong because there's a wind chill today. So where Merlin is, it's currently -10 with a wind chill of -16. I've waited a little bit later in the day. Normally on a weekend day where I'm not doing chores, I'm out at the farm by 10:30 in the morning. Currently 12:52. And I haven't even started getting ready yet. I'm going to start getting ready now and head out. So I have gotten to the farm all bundled up, and it's actually sunny, -9 with not much wind. So Eve and I are gonna tack up and go for a little hack, aren't we, my darling? Are we gonna go for a hack? Just a little one, 15 minutes. Yeah. Hi. You're having a crazy hair day there, girl. That's a good girl. Someone is coming to join me. Hello, dude. Hi. We're not doing anything today, I'm afraid. No, Mommy's tired. Yeah, Mommy's tired, but we just came to say hello, didn't we? Gonna come in here? I just came out to hang out with my dude to finish off this video, I was gonna talk while I was riding Eve, but there's some snow drifts and I just wanted to have both hands on reins. So she was very good, a little spicy. It was her first hack since early December, in probably, I think I filmed the riding in the snow video on like December 8th or December 9th. It's her first hack since then, and she was very good, but a little spicy on the way back. And this dude, ow, ow. I'm fine. I'm okay. You hit me in the head, but I'm fine. Yeah, I'm okay. It's so funny. He knows when he like accidentally hits me, and then he gets all concerned, don't you? Yes. Before I get into the last thing I wanted to talk about, I just want to clarify that everything I'm saying is not like, it's not scientific fact. It's just what I do based on my experience of 28 years of living in Canada and 25 years of dealing with horses in the winter. It's just tips and tricks and general rules that I have for myself with my horses in the area of the world that I live in. Some people might find interesting because I find it really interesting to hear about equine husbandry practices and different things all around the world. So that's kind of why I decided to make this video. Hi. So as a general rule, I do not ride if there is a base temperature colder than -15 Celsius. Wind chill in this area also plays a big factor because this is quite a wide open space. Quite often there is a big discrepancy. There's a big difference between the base temperature and the wind chill. So when I got up this morning, it was -20. There was a wind chill of nearly -30. So would not have ridden in that circumstance. But I looked at the temperature and I saw that it was going to be going up to a base temperature of -9 around 1-2 p.m. So I waited to come out, but there was a warning of a potential wind chill of 6 or 7 degrees colder than that. So when I came out here, even though I wanted to ride, I had it in my head that if the wind chill, if there was a biting wind, I wasn't going to ride. But I was lucky that there was a small window when I got here that, like, it's not windy at all right now. It's actually quite lovely because it's sunny. This also being said, what my standards are for riding in this area with the temperatures that we get might be different than other areas in Canada where it gets much colder. So people might ride, you know, in -30 as a base temp. It's all based, to me, it's all based on what your horse is used to and acclimatized to. So that's kind of how I make a judgment there. I also had a quarter sheet on Eve and I had my sheepskin saddle cover. I literally rode in sweatpants with my boots, and it's just all about staying warm, and it was actually a really, really lovely ride. That's kind of my general rule of thumb for myself when I'm riding in the cold. And with blanketing, again, for me, it's all based on, I'm not going to turn this into a blanket debate. I'm just going to talk about what I do with Merlin. So in general, it's all based on temperature, but also precipitation. So if it's raining and there's a wind, he might be better off with a blanket with a little bit of fill with a rain sheet on top than he would be with just a rain sheet. In this case, like, it goes quite cold at night and it's like -10 during the day. He's in 300 grams, which some people might think it's not very much, but the max I put horses in the winter in our area, and he lives outside, is 400. And currently with the blankets that I own for him, I can combine and layer up to 350, which is more than enough because he's not clipped or anything. So he has more than enough warmth, especially where he has this beautiful big shelter to escape from the elements. He has free choice access to forage, which the constant consumption of will help keep him warm, access to warm water. And to be honest, this is my first winter blanketing him. Until now, he has lived naked because he grows a coat like a woolly mammoth. The only reason that he doesn't have as thick of a coat this winter is on purpose, because I started blanketing him in November because I didn't want him to grow as thick of a coat because I'm going to be working him in February and March. So I didn't want him getting super, super sweaty. So yeah, it really depends on the horse. It depends on climate. I don't base it all on temperature. There might be a day where it's only -5, but there's a really biting wind, or it's really rainy, or it's snowing. I might put him in something warmer than I would normally do if it was that temperature but sunny, or that temperature and cloudy. So lots of factors go into play. Surprisingly, this weekend has been very cold, but it has been manageable. Normally I get very, very cold. I think as I'm getting older, I'm taking layering and staying warm a lot more Seriously. So anyways, this has been a bit of a random mishmash of a video. It was not planned, and I think that you can tell. It was meant to be more of a burn vlog, but because of how cold it was, I didn't actually do much with the horses this weekend. Like today, I'm not even bringing Merlin in because there's no point. He's nice and warm. I've checked his blankie and he's nice and warm underneath. So he'll be good until tomorrow. And then tomorrow it's going up to like -1. So he's got the 100 on underneath. That's another thing, is I try to make it easier for the people who do chores during the week to put blankets on and take them off. So he's layered a 100 underneath his 200 grams. So basically tomorrow they can just take the 200 gram off and chuck him out once he's done his feed. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was either make something like this talking about the cold or not make anything at all. I did get some sad news this morning, so I think that making this video was a good excuse, because I nearly didn't come out to the barn, but making it was a good excuse to come out and actually going on that hack with Eve, soaking up some sun, coming to hang out with my dude. Really, I don't say it's cheered me up, but it's distracted me, and it's just the distraction that I needed. My heart is feeling a lot lighter than it did don't bite my foot, than it did a couple of hours ago. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumb. I'm not gonna go through that. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Not sure what that next time will be. I am hoping to stick to Tuesday, Friday for the majority of this year, but there might be some weeks where something happens or I'm too tired and I just don't have the energy. So I'm not sure if there will be a video this Friday, but if there is, I'll see you then. And if not, I'll see you whenever the next one is. Bye. Don't know what I would do without you. Anyways, you're literally taking a shit in my face. Hi. Because all I need